The Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, embodies one of the most significant international threats the United States has faced in recent decades. Among other strategies, the authoritarian CCP hopes to dominate the global economy, as you know, through thefts of intellectual property, investments in foreign economies through their Belt and Roads Initiative, and through the promotion of alternative financial networks that undermine the US dollar's role in the global economy. As a Congress, we wrote strong bipartisan legislation to take on China, and I'm confident we can do it again here in the 118th Congress. Mr. Harrell and Mr. Lorber, I guess I'll start with Mr. Harrell. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill and the CHIPS and Science Act directly support our strategic competition with China by investing in our supply chains, our workforce, and emerging technologies. In your opinion, what should a CHIPS 2.0 bill look like? What are the best next steps for us to be working on now? Mr. Harrell?
So thank you very much, and I 100% agree with you that the bills that Congress passed over the last several years to foster investments in chips, in scientific innovation, in clean energy technology, and in infrastructure generally, absolutely essential to our success. I would break future investments into two pieces. One is a technology piece, and one is a supply chain resilience piece. On the technology piece, and I think there really is a lot that is going on there, not just with chips, but with the and science part of that bill and the NSF sort of reform agenda there. I think there's a lot going on there, but I do think we need to be focused at a research perspective in quantum and in biotechnology. These, I think, are foundational that we need to do. On the supply chain resilience piece, we've done a lot on chips. We've actually been doing a fair amount on critical minerals. It's going to take years for that to bear fruit, but there is a lot going on critical minerals, and we're doing a lot on clean technology. I think pharmaceuticals and pharmaceutical ingredients, not necessarily high-end things, we have supply chain vulnerabilities there. I also think there are a set of supply chain vulnerabilities that we don't know we have. And I think that the administration should undertake a kind of comprehensive review of what we're importing and supply chain vulnerabilities to get ahead of the things we don't know that we don't know.
It's very helpful. I appreciate that. I mean, the CCP has made it clear that it will leverage technology to breach U.S. institutions and steal our intellectual property, collect data on our citizens, and access the systems that control our critical infrastructure. I worked at a large technology company before I was in Congress. It was no secret that China was stealing our work all the time. I guess, Mr. Lorber, if I can ask you, if this is appropriate, what can we do to better protect our intellectual property from cybercrime and the coercive tactics the CCP is using to steal from companies operating in China?
Thanks. It's a great question. If the objective is, I think rightly, to protect U.S. data, there are multiple steps you can take, both to borrow one of Mr. Williams' ideas, sort of on the offensive and the defensive side. Certainly on the offensive side, I do think that if that's your goal, targeted economic sanctions to focus on specific entities that have been identified as stealing U.S. Intellectual property makes sense. And to date, I think there's authority that was recently passed on the books to be able to do that, though I don't know if there's actually any designations that have taken place. And then on the defensive side, certainly the hardening of U.S. governmental systems, but also proper incentives structure to make sure that U.S. private sector is also properly incentivized to harden their systems as well.
I think that's right, and I appreciate that. It's shifting just a little bit. The subject that I'm very concerned about, of course, during the pandemic, we had a lot of fake N95 masks with fake FDA approval labels. We've all read about adulterated diabetes treatments and seizures of fentanyl-laced pills that have been traced back to China. I'm concerned we're not doing enough to crack down and sustain efforts from foreign actors to flood our markets with counterfeit and adulterated medical products. Mr. Harrell, if I can ask you, do you think it makes sense to increase collaboration between the Office of Foreign Assets Control and the FDA to crack down and place sanctions on foreign producers of counterfeit and adulterated medical products?
I think there are a number of tools we can use to go after counterfeit product imports. I think that where there is sort of a nexus to organized crime, there are existing sanctions authorities that can be used to target sort of organized criminal counterfeiting, and I think we should be looking to do that. I also think, obviously, there are things we can do with CBP and with other tools that we have to crack down on imports of counterfeits. May I make one point on the data issue?
Please.
There are many things we need to do to protect our data security. One of them has to be a comprehensive national data privacy law, because if all the data is getting collected and aggregated, the Chinese are going to get at it. They got lots of ways to get at it. So we got to actually start with a data security law.
Thank you. I yield back. Thank you.